Every one of the great movies of the 70s, including The Exorcist, is in some ways an answer to this question. What is the scariest thing in the world?
It was a traumatic experience.
Ask any Gen Xer what the scariest horror movie is, and many will say The Exorcist. The film used practical effects and detailed makeup to bring that story to life, but there was more. In a 2003 interview, director William Friedkin shared how he used brief, hidden images and sounds inspired by filmmaker Alain Resnais. These elements were not always directly noticeable, but they had a lasting impact on the viewer. Therefore, here are 20 facts about The Exorcist you may not know. Number 20. The subliminal creepy face is from a makeup test. In The Exorcist, one of the scariest moments appears not through dialogue or a central action, but in a flicker during a dream. While Father Karras sleeps, a pale face flashes on the screen for less than a second. The image, though fleeting, remains etched in the minds of many who have seen the film. This face was not created for that scene, nor was it part of the script. It came from an early makeup test done for Regan, played by Linda Blair. The test showed a stark white face with deep dark eyes and red lines running underneath. Director William Friedkin had rejected this version early in production. He believed it did not match the arc he had in mind for Regan's transformation and set it aside. Months passed, and during the editing process, Bud Smith revisited abandoned material. He noticed how one frame of the test, when placed between cuts, caused a strong reaction. It lasted only a blink, but its effect was undeniable. Friedkin, always precise about what he included, decided to insert the image into Karras's dream. It remained there, unexplained, unmentioned again, but it was felt. The face itself showed no expression, only a blank stare that seemed to reach beyond the screen. Its skin looked drained of life. The darkness around the eyes seemed too deep for any regular face, and the red marks gave no clear meaning, only the sense that something had been lost or damaged. This moment did not rely on loud sounds or sudden movements. It was quiet and swift, yet it carried weight. It came from a discarded idea, yet it added something lasting. Friedkin knew how to use space, silence, and detail. The pale face, though shown only once, stayed long after the scene ended. It served no direct plot function, but it deepened the feeling that something was always present, just beneath the surface. The film did not explain what the face was, and that silence made it more enduring. Number 19. Linda Blair and Ellen Burstyn were really injured. During the filming of The Exorcist, both Linda Blair and Ellen Burstyn sustained physical injuries that were incorporated into the completed film. Linda Blair, who played Regan, spoke years later on the documentary series Cursed Films, where she described the moment her injury occurred. In the scene where Regan thrashes on the bed under possession, Blair was strapped into a mechanical rig with laces intended to control her motion. During one of the takes, the lacing came loose. The rig flung her backward with great force. The movement was not part of the plan. Blair stated that the impact fractured her lower spine. At the time, no immediate medical care was given. She was expected to continue, and the footage where the injury occurred was included in the final cut. Her pain on screen was not acted out. It was real. Ellen Burstyn, who played Chris McNeil, also endured injury. In the scene where Regan strikes her character and falls backward, she lands with enough force to hurt her back. Years later, Burstyn recounted the moment in the documentary, The Fear of God. She said that after she hit the floor, she screamed from the pain. Her cry was not staged. Instead of cutting the scene or offering help, director William Friedkin told the camera operator to tilt the lens down and capture her expression. Only after the shot was secured did medical help arrive. Burstyn described her reaction as one of fury. She felt that the moment could have been handled with more care. Both incidents were incorporated into the finished film. The pain shown by Blair and Burstyn was not fiction. It came from physical strain during production. Their injuries were not planned, yet they became tied to the final version of the film. These scenes made what the viewers saw very real, but they also left lasting marks on the actors themselves. The physical cost remained long after filming ended. Number 18. A man who appears in the movie was later convicted of murder. There are many reasons The Exorcist continues to receive attention. It remains widely regarded as one of the most effective horror films ever made. However, beyond its reputation for atmosphere and technical precision lies a lesser-known account involving Paul Bateson, a man whose real-life history became unexpectedly tied to the film. At the time, Bateson was employed as a medical professional in New York. Director William Friedkin visited the hospital while preparing for a medical scene in the film and selected Bateson to appear as a technician. The sequence, known for its realism, was not focused on possession or supernatural events. Instead, it showed a clinical procedure filmed in a documentary-like style. Bateson appeared briefly, performing tasks he carried out in his daily job. Years passed, and by the mid-1970s, Bateson was no longer working at the hospital. His struggle with alcoholism had affected his employment and living conditions. He remained in New York and became a regular presence in several clubs around Manhattan. On September 14, 1977, Addison Verrill, a journalist for Variety, was found dead in his apartment. The first reports suggested a break-in. Arthur Bell, writing for the Village Voice, questioned the lack of media coverage regarding crimes against gay men in the city. He pointed out that several such cases went unnoticed each year. On September 22nd, Bell received a phone call from a man who gave a detailed account of the night Addison Verrill died. The caller described bars they had visited, substances they had taken, and how the night ended at Verrill's apartment. Bell shared the contents of the call with the police, who confirmed that the caller had knowledge of facts that had not been made public. That same evening, another call came. This time, the caller gave a name, Paul Bateson. The police brought Bateson in for questioning. He denied making the phone calls to Bell, but he did offer statements that suggested knowledge of the crime. Later, Bateson would say that these statements were influenced by alcohol and drawn from what he had read in Bell's article. As the case went to trial, prosecutors aimed to show that Bateson had not only killed Verrill, but was responsible for additional unsolved murders between 1975 and 1977. However, the judge found that there was not enough evidence to prove Bateson's connection to the other murders. He was convicted only for the murder of Addison Verrill and sentenced to 20 years to life in prison. In 1979, when the news reached his former colleagues, many expressed disbelief. Dr. Ajax George, who had worked with Bateson during the filming of The Exorcist, said that Bateson had always been skilled, intelligent, and respectful with patients. The conviction brought a quiet end to a long speculation and left a lasting imprint tied to one brief appearance in film. Number 17. The set was ridiculously cold. To make Regan's breath visible on screen in The Exorcist, the production team created real cold inside the bedroom set. This choice stemmed from a desire to convey something genuine without resorting to tricks. According to the documentary The Fear of God, 4 powerful air conditioning units were installed on set. These machines brought the temperature down to 40 degrees below zero. The freezing air filled the room, and the breath of the actors could be seen in every scene. The cold became part of the filming process. It was not easy to work under such conditions. The actors and crew faced long hours inside the frozen space. Linda Blair, who played Regan, wore only light clothing and had to remain still during takes. Her breath, her movement, and her expression had to remain steady despite the cold. Lights and cameras often froze. The crew moved slowly and carefully. The sound of machines and the still air added weight to the space. Every scene filmed in that room took effort. Number 16. Friedkin drew from a tape of a real exorcism. William Friedkin explained in his director's commentary that he used parts of a real exorcism recording in The Exorcist. The tape originated from a ritual performed at the Vatican. In the recording, the phrase, "The power of Christ compels you," was repeated multiple times during the rite. Friedkin took that exact phrase and placed it in the film. He also used another part of the same tape. The voice of the possessed boy recorded during the exorcism was mixed into the film's sound. These parts were not recreated. They were taken directly from the original tape and added to certain scenes. This decision brought the voice and words from the actual event into the work. Friedkin did not explain further how the recording was obtained or altered. He only noted that the words and sounds used were real. Number 15. The writer was previously known for comedy. before writing The Exorcist, William Peter Blatty was known for writing comedy. One of his most noted works at the time was A Shot in the Dark, a sequel to The Pink Panther. His writing focused on humor, and that was the field where he had built his name. In the book, The Exorcist Legacy, it was stated that Blatty began writing the novel after winning $10,000 on the quiz show You Bet Your Life with Groucho Marx in 1961. Blatty later said in the documentary Raising Hell that the success of The Exorcist brought his comedy writing career to an end. He said, "Destroyed my comedy writing career, needless to say." He did not return to comedy after that. And that is not a surprise. The contradiction between comedy and horror is too apparent and can't be ignored. Number 14. The boy in the real case later borked for NASA. In 2021, several months after his death at the age of 85, the real boy whose case helped shape the story of The Exorcist was named as Ronald Edwin Hunkeler. His identity had been kept private for many years. At the age of 14, Hunkeler went through more than 20 exorcism rituals. These events became the basis for the book and later the film. After those early experiences, he followed a different path. He worked for many years as an engineer at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. According to The Guardian, he had a long career in that field and kept a low profile. His past was not widely known during his lifetime. Number 13. Friedkin fired a gun and smacked an actor to get a reaction. William Friedkin employed harsh methods during the making of The Exorcist to elicit genuine reactions from the cast. In the documentary Leap of Faith, Friedkin stated that he once fired a real rifle on set without giving any warning. This was done to capture a natural reaction of surprise, including in a scene where Father Karras jumps at the sound of a ringing phone. For another scene, Friedkin used physical force. Just before filming the moment when Father Dyer gives the last rites to Karras, Friedkin struck actor William O'Malley across the face. The action was intended to put him in the emotional state necessary for the scene. After the take, Friedkin said O'Malley hugged him and expressed thanks. Friedkin also stated that such methods would not be accepted in later years. He did not explain whether the actors were told in advance about these choices. Number 12. The vomit in the face. Surprised Jason Miller. During the filming of the scene where Reagan vomits on Father Karras, the plan was for the liquid to land on the actor's chest. It was meant to hit the sweater and not the face, but the effect did not go as planned. In the documentary The Fear of God, it was explained that the vomit tube shifted and the stream struck actor Jason Miller directly in the face. The take was kept and used in the final version of the film. Miller later said that his first reaction was one of anger. His words were, "My momentary reaction was, I was a little pissed off." The surprise shown on screen at that moment was genuine. Number 11. The movie is based on real-life experience. The Exorcist began as a novel written by William Peter Blatty. It was published in 1971. The story was based on a real event from 1949 involving a 13-year-old boy from Maryland. The boy's real name was kept private, and he was known under the name Roland Doe. After the death of his aunt, who had shown him how to use a Ouija board, the boy began to show signs that doctors could not explain. His behavior changed sharply. His family turned to the church for help. The first attempt at an exorcism was carried out by Father Edward Hughes, a Roman Catholic priest at Georgetown University Hospital. The boy was restrained, but the exorcism was unsuccessful. It ended when the priest was injured. The boy broke free and cut the priest with a part of a mattress spring. Later, the church permitted another exorcism. Reverend William S. Bodern, based in St. Louis, led the effort. The boy was reported to have undergone approximately 30 sessions. During many of these, he again broke free and became physically aggressive. When the events ended, the boy was reported to have no memory of what had transpired. He later lived a quiet life, and the details of his case remained hidden from the public for many years. Number 10. The demon's name in the film is Pazuzu. The demon in the film, The Exorcist, is named Pazuzu. His name is never spoken in the film itself. At the start of the film, Father Marin is seen standing before a statue during an excavation in Iraq. The site is in the area of ancient Nineveh. The statue shown is that of Pazuzu. Pazuzu originates from the Assyrian and Babylonian belief systems. He is known as the king of the demon winds and is described as the son of Hambi, the god of evil. He was believed to have power over dry winds that brought famine and disease. These winds could damage crops and lead to suffering. Although Pazuzu was considered a destructive force, he was also used in protection. In some traditions, he was believed to ward off the demon goddess Lamashtu. Lamashtu was said to harm pregnant women and infants. Figures of Pazuzu were sometimes used to guard against her attacks. In the context of the film, the statue and its presence signal the return of an ancient power. The name Pazuzu does not appear in the dialogue, but it is part of the deeper structure of the story, drawn from early records and artifacts. The figure in the opening scene is based on museum sources and historical documents from Mesopotamia. Number 9. Linda Blair secured the role of Regan McNeil, having defeated 500 other actresses. Approximately 500 young actresses were considered for the role. Each audition was carefully reviewed, but none seemed to meet the director's expectations. At one point during the search, the team considered using adult actors with dwarfism as a casting option. This was not the first plan, but it emerged as the process dragged on without yielding results. Finding a child who could carry the weight of the role and handle the demands of the script might not be possible. Eventually, Linda Blair was brought in. Her performance during the audition convinced the director that the search could end. She was offered the role, and production moved forward with her as Regan. This is not much of a surprise because only 1 out of 1,000 kids could endure the horror of the role she portrayed. Number 8. Mercedes McCambridge went to extreme lengths for the voice of the demon. Mercedes McCambridge was chosen to provide the voice of the demon in The Exorcist. To shape the sound, she made choices that affected both her body and her mind. She had been sober, but for the recording sessions, she gave that up. She drank alcohol and chain smoked throughout the process. She also followed a strict routine to maintain her raw voice. She ate raw eggs and avoided rest during the sessions. This helped her create the sound the director wanted. The voice needed to feel strained and unnatural. To add more tension to the voice, she asked to be restrained. Her arms, legs, wrists, and ankles were tied to a chair with torn bed sheets. These limits on her movement affected her breathing and the way she spoke. The recordings were done under these conditions. She did not move freely during the sessions. These choices shaped the final sound used for the demon's voice in the film. Her work was not seen on screen, but it was present in the sound of every word spoken by the demon. Number 7. Linda Blair received an insane number of death threats. When The Exorcist was released, the public's reaction was strong and immediate. Many people were scared by what they saw. Religious viewers in particular expressed anger and deep concern over the content. Linda Blair, who was 13 years old at the time and had played the role of Regan, became the target of threats. Large numbers of letters and messages accused her of glorifying Satan. Some called for her harm. Due to the seriousness of these threats, Warner Brothers arranged for bodyguards to protect her around the clock. This continued for at least 6 months. Even with security in place, the threats continued for nearly a full year. Her parents, concerned for her safety, later sent her to stay with a family friend in Vermont, New Jersey. The film also led to legal troubles. Warner Brothers faced several lawsuits from people who claimed harm after watching the movie. One man fainted in the theater and struck his jaw on the seat in front of him. He took legal action. Other viewers collapsed during screenings, and in several cities, paramedics were called to cinemas to treat those who had passed out or gone into panic. One woman later reported that she began to experience terrifying visions after viewing the film. She was admitted to a mental hospital for some time. Her case was discussed in news reports, bringing more attention to the impact the film had on viewers. These events continued long after the film's first release. Number 6. Many believed the movie was cursed. After the release of The Exorcist, many people believed the film carried a curse. Some were afraid that simply watching the movie or playing it at home could open a door to possession. The fear was not limited to viewers alone. Stories about strange events on set and accidents linked to the production added to these beliefs. Televangelist Billy Graham spoke publicly about the film. He said, "There is a power of evil in the film. in the fabric of the film itself. His words were repeated in newspapers and sermons. Many who followed him believed the warning and stayed away from the film. These views spread across communities. The idea that the film was more than fiction stayed in public conversation for years. The fear shaped how some people responded to the film's success and lasting presence. Number 5. There were many deaths surrounding the movie. When The Exorcist was released in December of 1973, much of the attention focused on the film's content. However, behind the scene, several real-life events began to gain notice. The subject of the film was already complex. The deaths and personal losses that followed during and after the production drew quiet concern among those involved. Jack McGowran, who played the role of Burke Dennings, passed away shortly after completing his work on the film. He passed away from complications linked to influenza. In the story, his character also dies. Close to that time, Vasiliki Maliaros, who portrayed the mother of Father Karras, died of natural causes. Her death took place during post-production. Her character, like McGowran's, also dies in the film. The crew noted the closeness of these events. During filming, Linda Blair lost her grandfather. Around the same period, Max von Sydow, who played Father Merrin, lost his brother. These losses did not happen on set, but the timing placed them inside the same space as the work. Those present remembered the weight of those days. In 1987, a tragedy linked to the film occurred. Mercedes McCambridge, who had given voice to the demon in the movie, faced a profound personal loss. Her son, John Markle, took the lives of his wife and 2 daughters before ending his own. The news was widely reported, bringing the film back into public conversation. Each of these losses had reasons apart from the film, but the timing and number of events connected to the cast and crew gave the production a lasting sense of sorrow. These names and dates remain part of the film's history, spoken quietly by those who were involved in its making. Number 4. Max von's makeup was so good that it seized his career. For a while, The Exorcist relied on the steady work of its cast and crew, but one area that shaped its look and tone was makeup. Max von Sydow was 44 years old during filming. He played Father Merrin, an elderly priest sent to perform the exorcism. To turn a man in his 40s into someone much older, the makeup team worked for hours each day. They applied prosthetics, added wrinkles by hand, and used graying powder and liquids to age his face and hair. The process took 4 hours each time he appeared on set. The final result was detailed and convincing. The image of Father Merrin became tied to the film's identity. Many viewers believed that Sydow was truly in his 70s or older. The makeup did more than create a character. It changed how people saw the actor behind the role. After the film's release in 1973, Max von Sydow found that casting directors assumed he was an older man. This belief stayed with him, and for a time, he was not offered major roles. It was not until the year 1975, when he was 46 years old, that he returned in a leading part in 3 Days of the Condor. The gap highlighted how a single role could significantly influence the direction of an actor's career path. His work in The Exorcist remained one of his most well-known performances. The makeup helped carry the story and gave the character weight. The exact makeup that defined the role also limited his choices for a time. On March 8, 2020, Max von Sydow died at the age of 90. His performance in The Exorcist, combined with the skill of the makeup team behind it, left a lasting mark that far exceeded the set. Number 3. Father Dyer was played by an actual priest who got slapped by the director. William O'Malley was a Jesuit priest who portrayed Father Dyer in The Exorcist. His appearance in the film marked what was reported to be the first time an ordained priest played a priest in a motion picture. O'Malley became involved in the production through his connection with William Peter Blatty, who had written the novel and worked as a producer on the film. Before filming began, O'Malley had read Blatty's book and had not been thoroughly impressed. He called the character of Father Dyer cliched. Still, Blatty and director William Friedkin believed his presence would give the film a layer of realism that could not be achieved by an actor alone. They persuaded him to join the cast. A pivotal moment occurred during the scene where Father Dyer administers the last rites to Father Karras. Friedkin was not satisfied with the first few takes. He wanted something more immediate. He asked O'Malley if he trusted him, and the priest said yes. Friedkin then struck O'Malley across the face just before the cameras rolled. The look of real shock stayed on O'Malley's face. That take was used in the finished film. O'Malley's performance stood out not because of acting technique, but because of the way it drew on his real life. He understood the rite he was performing. His reaction, shaped by surprise and emotion, became one of the film's lasting images. The act of being slapped was never repeated, but it left a lasting mark on the scene and the role, one that no one would forget. O'Malley remained a part of the film's long history, remembered for both his presence and the method used to draw that presence into the frame. Number 2. Jack Nicholson, Audrey Hepburn, and Marlon Brando were almost cast before the final cast of The Exorcist was confirmed. Several well-known names were considered for the leading roles. Marlon Brando was initially considered for the role of Father Merrin by Warner Brothers, the film's distributor. Still, director William Friedkin immediately vetoed the casting due to concerns that Brando's star power might overshadow the movie. Audrey Hepburn had spoken with Friedkin and expressed a desire to play the role of Chris, but only if the production could be moved to Rome, where she had just moved. Due to the additional production costs and the challenges of working with a foreign crew, Friedkin had to look elsewhere. Jack Nicholson was in contention to play the role of Father Karras from quite early on, although he lost out on the part to Stacy Keach before Jason Miller was eventually cast. Interestingly enough, Stanley Kubrick was approached to direct the film early on, but turned the project down, going on to direct Nicholson in The Shining some years later. Number 1. The Exorcist was the first horror film to receive an Oscar nomination for Best Picture. The Exorcist's impact on the horror genre is legendary. It was nominated for 10 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and went on to win in the categories of Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Sound Mixing. Whilst classic films from the 1930s, such as the original King Kong, and monster films produced by Hammer Film Productions during the 1950s and 60s were massively successful, none had the same level of impact as The Exorcist. Studios were excited by The Exorcist's success, sparking huge investment into future horror films and launching franchises to rival it. Only 5 other horror films have been nominated for Best Picture after The Exorcist, including Jaws, Get Out, The Sixth Sense, and Black Swan. The only one to ever win Best Picture is The Silence of the Lambs in 1991. The Exorcist was so scary that psychologists thought it could trigger neurosis in people who watched it. Which weird fact are you hearing for the first time? Let's hear from you in the comments. Thank you for watching. Kindly hit the subscribe button for more content from us.